Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. Today's video is going to be something I'm very excited about because I absolutely love to read. I have a 14-week goal for 2021 to read more. While I absolutely, sorry, my hair's while I absolutely love to read, I feel like over the years I've slowly kind of fallen away from that being my first thing to do when I have downtime or anything like that because of school and all those kinds of things. So for this 14-week goal, I decided that I really wanted to be able to get back into reading as much as I used to be reading. And so my goal is to read one book a week for 14 weeks. So obviously that is 14 books. And so I thought for this video I would go over those 14 books with you. I actually think that I have a few more than 14, just kind of as these are the top books on my list to read. Some of them are newer buys, some of them are Christmas presents, and some of them I've had on my shelf for a while and just have not gotten around to. And another reason for me doing this 14-week where I read these 14 books minimum is because I have a really big problem with buying books, and I keep on buying books. Especially, it doesn't help that I work in a bookstore, so I keep on buying new books, but I haven't read the ones that I already have. So not only is this to get me back into reading just because I love it and I miss it, but also to maybe make me not feel as guilty when I buy new books because I'll have read more of the books that are on my shelf. So I think that that's kind of it. Whoa. So I think that that's kind of it about the why I'm doing this. But some premises of it, or the rules of it, I guess, are one book a week minimum, and I want to do 9 novels and 5 nonfiction. Only because I really, really do love to read these nonfiction books, but I feel like I always get caught up in the fact that if I'm reading, I should be learning something, and that's not how I used to be, but I think college changed that for me. Sorry, my hair. So I think college kind of changed that for me, and so I want to not stop reading the nonfiction books because I do love learning about those things, but to kind of give myself a more balance to the novel side of books. I have plenty of nonfiction books that I still need to read on my shelf, and I will get to those. But for the 14, this is what I have on my shelf. So in no particular order, because they're all just in a big old stack next to me, I'm going to read to you the titles of the 14 books. 14? I guess I'll insert the actual number here, but I think it's 14 to 17 books that I have next to me, so not way off. But here we go. So the first book is The Lady in the Tower, The Fall of Anne Boleyn by Alison Weir, and this book is a nonfiction book. So Alison Weir has books on Henry VIII's wives and a lot of other queens and things like that that are novels. This particular book is found in the world history section, and it is classified as a nonfiction book, and that's what it looks like. Doo-doo. Okay, and the second book on my list, apparently I have all the nonfiction books together. Maybe? Yeah, I do. Okay, so the second book is The Romanov Sisters by Helen Rappaport. I hope that I'm saying that correctly, but it looks like this. It is a bigger book, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this one in a week. I should be fine. I've read books this big in 3 days before, but at that time I wasn't working and trying to study languages and do all these things. But this book is about the lost lives of the daughters of Nicholas and Alexandra. So it talks about all of the sisters. I feel like when we hear about the Romanov sisters, there's such a focus on Anastasia, and that's because the movie and all of those things. But this actually does cover the lives of all 4 sisters. And the third book on my list is And a Hard Rain Fell, a GI's true story of the war in Vietnam. And it looks like this, like I just showed you. There's the spine. And this one was written by John Ketwig. And my uncle is actually a Vietnam vet, and I sadly do not know a lot about the Vietnam War because of the fact that obviously with PTSD and things like that, he's not really open to sharing, and I'm not going to push that situation. But because of the fact that he lived through that, I really do want to learn more of it, so that I have a little bit better of an understanding of his emotions and where, like, things like that. Book 4 is The Girl with 7 Names, Escape from North Korea, and it's this book, and it's by Hyun-Soo Lee, with David John, so like there's a co-writer on this one, and this is a memoir nonfiction book about her life. Basically, she escapes North Korea, and it's the whole journey to where she is today and how she got to safety. And so yes. And there is another book written by a different Korean author who escaped North Korea as well, which is on my list. I don't have a copy of that, and it's on my future list. But they both share their stories of escape. So if you can't find this one, I'll leave the other name of one if you're interested in this type of book. So my 5th book is this one, and it's Without You There Is No Us by Suki Kim, and it looks like this. And this book is another book about North Korea. It's about the undercover elites within North Korea, and so while most books that you have about North Korea are specifically about one's escape from North Korea, this one really does talk about the elite structure within North Korea. At least that's what I'm getting. I haven't actually read it yet, but that's what my understanding of the book. Okay, and my 6th book is actually a graphic novel, but it's called They Called Us Enemy, by George Taiki. I'm so sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Taki. The gentleman from Star Trek. Oh my god. I was sitting here going, I was like, I can picture his scenes, I can sit here and do Live Long and Prosper, but I could not think of the name for a second. It's Star Trek. So it's a gentleman from Star Trek. If you don't know who that is, it is this gentleman. And it talks about the internment camps within the U.S. during World War II. And it's illustrated by Isinger Scott Baker, I believe so. And then he wrote it. So this is actually a graphic novel, but I feel like it's such a powerful subject and a powerful book that I'm gonna count it as an actual story, an actual book, not just a graphic novel. Okay, so actually I think that is all of the nonfiction. I think that's all of the nonfiction books that I have on my list. So I have one extra of those kind of thing. And so now we're gonna move on to the novels that are on my list for our 14-week reads. Okay, the first one is On the Other Side by Carrie Hope Fletcher. And it looks like this, and there's the spine. And this is just, I feel like it's a larger print, so I feel like it's gonna be a quick read, even though it's kind of thick-ish. Carrie Hope Fletcher is a West End actress, and I am obsessed with the West End and all of her productions that she's in. And she has written 4 or 5 books now. This is the first novel that she released. I have not read any of her books before, and so I'm excited to finally get into one of the books that she's written. The second one is A Pattern of Lies by Charles Todd. I think I mentioned this before in some recent videos, how I'm obsessed with the Charles Todd Bess Crawford series. It's like a mystery series, and I love a good mystery book. And so this is the next book in the series that I have not read yet. And so this, of course, has to be on my list because I have to continue to make my way through the series. I believe that there's 11 books in the series, and this is 6. 7. 6 or 7. Okay, the next one is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. Gaskell? I have watched the series for this one, and it was so good. It was like a quick 4-episode series, and I just loved the story. I loved the time period that it was in. I love a good historical fiction. Bess Crawford is a historical fiction. I believe I have some other ones in here that are like based in different times, and I love that in a book. And so this is a love story, but it's about status and society and a girl who doesn't really play into it versus a man who really plays into it. And I'm excited to actually read the book that the show was based on. If you're looking for a new show and you like a historical fiction show, North and South. I have no idea where I watched it. I cannot remember. I want to say it was Netflix though. I think. Okay, and the next one on my list is Dune. And if you're a science fiction fantasy fan, you know what Dune is. I feel like even people that aren't science fiction or fantasy fans know what Dune is. I have, however, not read it yet. But it is my brother-in-law's favorite book. He has an entire arm sleeve of tattoos based off of this book. It looks like this. There you go. They're making a movie based off of it. I have no idea when it's going to get released. COVID screwed up the release date. I think it's finished. I don't know. And I bought this book for a friend in Korea, and he and I are going to read it together at the same time. So I have to figure out what week works for that. But I'm very excited to read this. I'm not into a lot of science fiction and fantasy, so I am excited to give that a try. Speaking of science fiction and fantasy, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas is this book. It looks like this. Ooh, and it's got that. I know nothing about this book. One of my really good friends at work recommended it. She was recommending it so much and praising it and praising this author that she got myself and 2 other employees to buy the book, and we're doing a buddy read because the 3 of us have not really gotten into science fiction and fantasy, but we were willing and we were kind of interested in going into that genre. And so we all ended up with this book. So both of my science fiction books I am actually reading with friends, as kind of, I guess, a way for me to talk it through with somebody too, though, since I have never read science fiction or a fantasy book. I mean, okay, I read I don't know, I feel like Percy Jackson, those are YA fantasy, Divergent, Hunger Games, those are all YA books, but these are legitimate science fiction fantasy books. So the next book on my list is Was Anastasia. I have the nonfiction Romanov Sisters book, and then I have the fiction Was Anastasia. But like I said, it looks like this. It's got that, and it was written by Ariel Lawhon. And it is basically a woman with an uncanny resemblance to Anastasia is found in England. Germany. She claims to be the Duchess, and then the whole thing goes from there, basically. Like I said, I have not read these books, yet, obviously, because they are on my reading list. So I don't know a lot about them. So if my descriptions are crap, I apologize. I don't know much. Okay, so The Light We Lost is the next book. Also, the sticker is still on there. I haven't taken it off or whatever. By Jill Santopolo. There you go. This was a Christmas one. And it is a Reese's book club. I am currently reading a Reese's book club called The Last Day with Mina Lee. The Last Mina Lee. I don't know, it's a pink cover. But I really like it so far. I'm so bad with remembering the names of the books that I'm reading, and I don't know why. But it's another Reese's book club pick, and I really like it so far. So I'm hoping that this one is just as good as that one, because it's the same book club, right? Okay, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. The next one is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, and it looks like this. There we go. And it is a penguin book. Yeah, it's a penguin. Big penguin random house. The penguin. And like I said, I don't know much about this. I do know that it's kind of like a mystery crime in a way, because a young lady dies and then they're going back and like the family is grieving and all this stuff, but they're trying to figure out also like what happened is my interpretation of it. That's what I've gotten so far. Okay, and then this one is The Cold Millions by Jess Walter. Looks like this. Go. And this is one that I know absolutely nothing about. I was handed it by my manager, my boss, and she was like, read this, you'll love it. And I was like, okay, so here it is. I don't know anything about this one. And there's not a ton of like, okay, maybe this is the description. That's interesting. And there's like a glossy page at the front that has like the description on it. That's interesting. So it's about brothers. This one is on my list. Alright, and we're down to the last two that are on my list, which are very recent purchases that kind of gotten added to this list. They're kind of like my extra novel books, as well as books that I really just hope to read really quickly. And this is The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. It looks like this, and I think this is like, these next two are like my only two hardback books. I don't have many hardback books, but it looks like this, and I am doing another buddy read with this book and a friend, and so I'm excited to get into this one. And last, I feel like the stack of books is about to go. Fingers crossed. Okay, and the last book on my list is The War Widow by Tara Moss. And this is another historical fiction. Obviously her husband is, I don't actually know if she's officially a widow yet at the beginning, because I believe that her husband is just missing, but people are hunting her down for something that either she did or her family did or her husband did. So she actually becomes a private investigator. She gets involved in a situation that then has people hunting her down. Like I said, I love a good historical fiction. If you have gathered anything from this video, it should be that. But also I like a good, like, you know, strong woman creating a life for herself after everything happens, and just, I'm really excited about that book as well. So those are the books that are on my list for my upcoming reading goals of 2021. I would love to do videos as like I finish a couple of these at a time, kind of like reviews, and also to keep me accountable. So let me know if you guys would be interested in that. But I have the 14-week goals. They start this coming Monday. We're gonna rock through it. I'm going to read a book a week for the next 14 weeks. and you have just found out which books I'm reading, plus a couple of bonus ones that are really high on my list to read. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that it encourages you guys to read, and that maybe if you want to find a copy of one of these books yourself and do a buddy read with me, let me know, because I'm happy to do that. I enjoy a good buddy read because it gives you somebody to talk to about situations that you don't understand, but also to freak out about all the crazy turns that books take sometimes. So I hope that you guys, like I said, enjoyed this video. Please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the comment section below. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye!